A major tornado outbreak is now on the horizon, where within the next 48 to 72 hours, the Midwest could get impacted by numerous tornadoes as a result of a trough that's coming off the Pacific Northwest coast. That's going to bring plenty of cold air and again enhance the instability in the Midwest for a high amount of convective available potential energy to exist as we approach the Tuesday into the Wednesday timeframe. Moving forward with the forecast, we do see that along with this storm system, there should be plenty of snow just to the north of it, and the area of snow should only expand as this low pressure system continues to move further eastward once it encounters a little bit more instability. And as for today, there is a severe weather outbreak going on right around northern Texas. So in Dallas, you need to pay close attention to the high risk of damaging winds and large hail and possibly the chance of an isolated tornado. But this upper level low is relatively weak and it's cut off in the jet stream. So I will say that the tornado threat isn't necessarily extremely high associated with this low pressure system, but there's certainly that possibility. So make sure to watch out for that throughout the night for much of northern Texas. But moving forward with the forecast, we see that this upper level low will eventually dissipate, and once it dissipates, we're going to see a huge ridge develop, and that's going to bring a strong southerly flow that's going to bring plenty of humid and warm air further northward to interact with this very cool and more dense air mass for plenty of lift to occur in the Midwest, which is exactly what we see here. And the millibar pressure of this storm system is hovering around 986 millibars. So the pressure is quite low, which shows that there's going to be definitely stronger winds associated with this low pressure system, and that will only enhance the convection right around the center of circulation, because of course when the winds are stronger, that allows the convection to move a lot faster as well, to the point where we're going to see a large area of snow just to the north of this low pressure system and plenty of energy just to the east for thunderstorms to develop. And the worst of the highest risk of where you should experience a major tornado outbreak should be in northern Illinois, the northeastern portion of Missouri, as well as the southeastern portion of Iowa. And there will be another risk a little bit further southward, another major risk of tornadoes into Arkansas and as well as into the northeastern portion of Texas and northern Louisiana. This is the second area where you should expect another significant tornado outbreak, and the certainty, I will say, is very high. It seems like both of the computer models are in high agreement that there's going to be plenty of instability by the time we approach a Tuesday to Wednesday timeframe for a significant tornado outbreak to occur, which is definitely the last thing the Midwest needs after experiencing a very powerful tornado outbreak just a couple of days ago. And now we're expecting another one for the Midwest as the slow pressure system moves eastward. And of course, heavy snowfall in the northern Midwest, where you could expect close to 2 feet of snow in some of these areas. And the winds, like I said, will be very strong, gusty. So even if you're not necessarily involved with the severe weather, you're still gonna experience gusty winds where power outages in some areas will be possible with a pressure this low and a low pressure strength that's that high. So you definitely need to watch out for this in the Midwest. Certainty, like I said, is high. However, there is a slight difference between how severe both of the computer models want this storm system to be when it comes to severe weather. The GFS model is leaning towards the severe weather being a little bit more significant because it expects a little bit more cold air to be right behind the storm system compared to the European model. But for the most part, they're both bringing a significant severe weather threat. So you need to prepare as if a tornado outbreak is on your way, because it's likely at this point it will impact large areas of the Midwest as well as portions of the western portions of the southeast as well. Now let's take a look at the European model, which shows a very similar forecast. We don't need to go over too much of what the European model is stating because, like I said, it's very similar to what GFS model is stating. But taking a quick look at how the European model wants to develop this storm system, you see very similar trajectory, and we do see a squall line develop just to the east of this low pressure system. The European model is a little bit more detailed when it comes to its forecasted radar, so you should expect a pretty large squall line, which definitely will raise the certainty that at least that many of these areas will experience at least a severe thunderstorm with a higher possibility of a tornado. So keep that in mind as well. This will be a pretty elongated squall line, most likely, thanks to the amount of instability. And like I said before, the pressure will be low. There's going to be plenty of strong winds, so prepare for that possibility. So what really will determine if we're going to be in for a much more significant tornado outbreak is really the amount of lift that there will be in the atmosphere, because that'll determine the amount of wind shear. And we do see that with the European model, it expects a significant jet stream dip to occur, plenty of cold air behind this trough, and we see a very powerful ridge bringing those warmer, the more humid air mass to interact with this cooler and drier air mass. So we're seeing plenty of convection. This should allow for a significant tornado outbreak to occur. However, it's not as significant as what the GFS model is forecasting, which I'll show you right now. Taking a look at the GFS's model's forecast when this low pressure system is at the same latitude, we do see that the cold air is a little bit more pronounced with this trough, where we do see the cooler air mass move a little bit further southward. So that'll enhance the instability just a little bit, to the point where the risk of damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes is even higher. But for the most part, they both agree that the chance is high. But when it comes to the GFS model, if it ends up being the more correct model, that will be considered the worst case scenario, where the tornado outbreak would definitely, major tornado outbreak would definitely be inevitable at this point. Here are the forecasted surface-based convective available potential energy levels from the GFS model. And if we were to continue to move forward with the forecast, you're going to see that we're going to see convective available potential energy levels quite high, because we do see that on the pink at its peak intensity right around Tuesday evening, we do see convective available potential energy levels hover over 3,000 joules per kilogram, which is plenty of energy, and that is more than enough energy to not only create a high risk of damaging winds and large hail, but also a high risk of tornadoes, because when there's more convective available potential energy, more lift means that there's a higher level wind shear, and that means that there's overall a higher risk of tornadoes. And we're going to see the wind change quite a bit with height. And if we were to actually take a look at how the wind changes with height in this area, we do see that the wind changes completely, where we do see that along surface the winds are expected to move from the south, but if we were to move into the upper levels of the atmosphere, the winds completely change its direction from moving from the south to moving from the west, which definitely means that there's a high level of wind shear associated with this convective available potential energy. So the risk of tornadoes is definitely higher with energy levels this high. And here's the forecasted amount of wind shear that's expected in the mid-levels of the atmosphere as we approach the midweek. You're going to see that the winds in the mid-levels will become much stronger. The overall shear will become much stronger. We're going to see the wind shear, right? The winds right around 104 knots, right around the 500 millibar range of the atmosphere. And we do see that moving forward, this wind shear will create a high risk of tornadoes. So make sure to be aware of that as we approach the midweek. And the worst, like I said, the worst of the tornado threat should be in northern Illinois, southeastern Iowa, and northeastern Missouri, as well as Arkansas, northeastern Texas, as well as northern Louisiana as well. Here's the Storm Prediction Center's forecast when it comes to the severe weather outlook for today. Of course, in northern Texas, including Dallas, there's an enhanced risk of severe weather, so you should expect large hail, damaging winds, and isolated tornadoes for today. Moving into tomorrow, the severe weather risk should subside, as of course this upper level low will weaken and it won't have as much cold air surrounding the upper level low. So of course the risk of severe weather definitely subsides with with a small amount of convective available potential energy. And then moving to day 3, we of course see the severe weather risk rises up again once we approach the Tuesday time frame, where we do see, of course, the worst of the risk of severe weather should be in northern Illinois and northern Missouri, as well as other areas in the south central portion of the United States, where again you should expect large hail damaging winds and a significant tornado outbreak. And like I said earlier, severe weather isn't the only thing we're watching with this storm system. We of course have this a heavy blizzard threat that's expected to occur as we approach the Tuesday to Wednesday timeframe, where we do see the European model is expecting a large area of over a foot of snow and over 6 inches of snow for much of northern Minnesota, South Dakota, and North Dakota. And at this point, the certainty with this forecast is very high because the GFS model is showing nearly an exact replica of this forecast at this point. So you should prepare for a major blizzard by the Tuesday to Wednesday timeframe. So here's my overall forecast when it comes to this next major tornado outbreak. So you need to prepare accordingly in much of the Midwest, right around the Mississippi River Valley. That's where the worst of the tornado outbreak should occur. Prepare for the potential of numerous tornadoes. Make sure if that you're under a tornado warning, make sure to go in the lowest level of your house, possibly your basement if you do have one, because you definitely don't want to risk being above the surface when there's a tornado. So make sure to prepare accordingly, have a plan if there's a tornado, because there is a high risk as we approach the Tuesday to Wednesday time frame. And make sure to prepare for blizzard conditions where winds could occasionally gust over 50 miles per hour in a lot of these areas in the northern Midwest, along with very heavy snow and heavy snow drifts that are expected to occur with that wind. So make sure to prepare for blizzard conditions as we approach the midweek. But yeah, guys, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content.